Hooty hooty.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that's interesting because I have it on good authority that Cynthia is a lying sack of shit. Let her go. Don't call here again. Sorry about that. Just dealing with some of our employees there, the many folks we have on staff here at Schlockaholics. Thankfully, as of today, Cynthia is no longer one of them. Welcome to our interview today with Filip Hanžek. Am I saying that correctly? I usually just call
uh,
you Boris.
uh, my surname is pronounced Hanžek, but that's okay. I don't
Ooh.
really expect anyone who isn't from Croatia to
Now I'm gonna
know
learn how
that.
to say it properly. I like that little flavor that's on there. That's good stuff. Uh, a lot of you guys
Thanks.
might know Filip as Boris from Dark Zone 13, Joe Sherlock's absolutely astounding anthology film that he put together a couple years back. We're going to be taking Boris sort of through his whole story of his B movie fandom, his interest in horror, his filmmaking process, all of that good stuff. Of course, we're joined by my co host, Cody, and his many
Hi.
masks. Welcome.
Hey guys.
So I guess we'll just trade off questions here and kind of work through this with you, bud. It should go real smooth. But first question we're always, I think, going to start off with is, how did you get introduced to horror, and do you remember what your first horror film was?
To horror in general, well, yeah, actually, that's maybe kind of a weird story, maybe a little embarrassing, but whatever, I'll just say it.
Sounds great. Tell us,
Well,
please.
so when I was a kid, maybe 8, 9, or 10 years old, I'm not sure exactly. I was watching one of those Mexican soap operas on TV, and there was a scene that back then, even though it's not actually horror, but that scene back then when I was a kid, it disturbed me quite a bit. It was a scene where a woman was walking down the shore of a river, and she found a dead body that someone disposed of, and the body was just beginning to decay, and it was covered in mud and things like that. And since I was a kid and not quite as desensitized to all that stuff as I am now, back then that scene scared the living crap out of me. But I made a big mistake by not telling anyone that I was scared of it, that I ended up having insomnia and nightmares and crap, because I was worried that if I told my parents about that they would no longer allow me to watch that show. So yeah, that scene kind of fucked me up back then. Sorry for my vocabulary.
Oh, no,
And
that's fine. Seems fair.
thanks. Actually, since then I was staying away from everything horror related. I didn't want to watch anything like that. If I did run into something like that, like some nasty face, some zombie or corpse in a movie or a show, or something like the demon from The Exorcist or things like that, it would usually give me insomnia and stuff like that. So I was trying to stay away from all such things. That was until later on when social media became more prominent, and Facebook is a place where you can run into anything and you cannot really predict it. And someone there, it was back in 2012, someone posted a meme with a picture of Samara Morgan from The Ring, and just seeing that picture, that zombie undead face of her, it kind of disturbed me then. And after that, I realized I finally had to get rid of that stupid problem I had with such horror faces and stuff like that. So I decided to start watching horror movies to get rid of that problem. So yeah, the first one I watched was The Ring, and
Oh, that's awesome,
actually,
dude. I didn't know that it actually all started with The Ring for you. That's
ooh,
cool.
yeah, so that was in
Well, start.
2012.
There he went. Keep going, Boris.
Uh, yeah, so once I watched The Ring, I realized it was not quite as scary as I thought it would be. And later on, after watching a few more such movies, I eventually stopped getting disturbed by ugly faces in horror and by the whole thing, like zombies, corpses, ghosts, things like that. But yeah, The Ring was the first one I saw, and I actually not only did it help me get rid of that stupid fear, but I actually liked that movie a lot, and I wanted to explore the entire Ring franchise. So not only the American movie and its sequels, but also the Japanese version and the novels, the Japanese novels. It all started with, for those who don't know, The Ring was originally based on a novel of the same title written by the Japanese writer Koji Suzuki. And yeah, I read that novel and its sequels and some manga books based on some of the novels and Japanese movies. So yeah, in 2012 and 2013, I was a huge nerd for the Ring franchise, for absolutely everything related to it. And then in August 2013, I was browsing eBay for. I hoped I would find someone selling a replica of the cursed videotape from the Ring. So I entered the keywords cursed videotape on eBay. Didn't even enter The Ring, just cursed videotape. And I thought I
That's
would
what's it's
find.
so awesome, dude, that you started out being scared of Mexican soap operas, and then just a few short years later, you're trying to buy cursed videotapes on eBay.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, from one extreme to the other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's.
wild, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess you could say I'm generally a union of opposites, as you can even see in my background. I have I have a replica of a human skull there, and a little bit above I have a plush owl. So yeah, you can find all sorts of weird stuff at my place and in my interests as well. Uh,
So
So
uh,
remember
what'd
the
you end up?
title of the Mexican soap opera, because I'd like to see that dead body, you know.
uh,
Do a little
well,
stand by
that
me during
appeared
to some Mexican soaps.
for only one short moment. The show was named Laberintos de Pasión. Yeah, I don't know how they translated it to English, but if they translated
I
it
have no. I mean, that
correctly, it
sounds like
would be
Passion of the Burritos, but I'm
uh,
pretty sure that's not
uh,
right.
uh, uh, not burritos, labyrinths of passion.
I don't hear a difference, bro.
The title would be
uh,
Labyrinths of Passion if they translated it correctly. I will try to find that scene on YouTube and send it to you later.
hell
But
yeah, dude. I'd like to check that out.
nowadays, no, it's not really that scary. I just got scared by it because I was a kid. They always did say those shows should not be watched by children under the age of 12, yet I never quite listened to that.
As you
uh,
shouldn't, you know. It's best to see that age so that it can really see itself into your brain. Before we dive into the Seekers and how you were led eventually to us,
oh,
Cody, do
yeah.
you have any questions for Boris about his horror origins over there in Croatia?
I was just gonna. I don't know if that'll segue into what you're kind of getting to, but I was wanting to have him kind of explain more on what he ended up popping up with on eBay by searching the the cursed videotapes.
Oh, yeah, I was about to get to that.
Well,
Um,
dive on in there, baby. Don't let me hold you back. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing anything before we got into the meat of this bad boy here.
oh yeah. So as I said, I looked up cursed videotape and I ran into this DVD there, The Seekers, a movie by an independent filmmaker from Oregon named John Bowker. And before that, I didn't even know this movie existed. And when I did discover it, it would be an understatement to say that I was mind blown because, as you can see, the entire front cover is fashioned after the front cover of The Ring with this title and the face of a woman in the middle of the letters and the tagline. And on the cover of The Ring, you would see the well here. Here is a videotape instead. And this tagline says, "Before the ring, there was the Seekers." And when I saw that, I got extremely curious and confused because until then I had spent like a year and a half exploring the Ring franchise, everything about it. I knew how the Ring came to be and all that. And all of a sudden, I read into this movie, which I thought claimed to have some connection to the Ring, yet I had never heard of it before. So I was like, what the hell is this? And then,
Yeah, I could imagine seeing it and thinking, like, what the hell did they just, rip off some random independent movie to make The Ring or something? Or is it
uh,
like, I think if I saw it
actually,
just searching without looking into it, I might think it was a low budget knockoff of The Ring. But I think it came out
uh,
before The Ring, didn't it?
uh, it says it came out before the ring, but the truth is it did not come out before the ring, but it was written and shot and maybe even edited before the ring came out.
Right. So
And
technically, its release date was after, but it existed before The Ring as a film,
exactly,
Well, and
yes.
also
which is
that
super
wasn't.
interesting, man.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So sorry, Cody, were you going to ask me something?
Oh, that's all right. I was just gonna say, like, we've heard a little backstory on it, and like they weren't like John Becker didn't want that, on the front of the cover art, and he didn't know anything about the Ring when he made that movie, so there was no. He wasn't trying to rip it off. They just threw that on there to try to get some people that, like they do with knockoffs now, that that looks kind of like what it is. So maybe that's the movie. So I'm gonna go ahead and check that out.
Oh,
Right.
possibly.
It
Well,
sounds like a case of just parallel thinking, which happens, people
oh
have
yeah,
similar ideas
actually it
sometimes. And
happens.
then, yeah, so he bit the bullet and threw that tagline on there to maybe move a few more copies, and it brought us Boris. So thanks for doing it, dude.
Yeah,
If
thank
that
you,
wasn't on
Ron.
there and they hadn't like tried so hard to make it similar for marketing purposes, you probably would have scrolled right past it.
Um,
So that's beautiful that like some random decision like that led us to this moment, basically.
uh, exactly. Let me find. I have a VHS copy of The Seekers. Let me just see where I put it. I have a lot of stuff around me that I brought out in order to show in this discussion. So it takes me a moment
Hell
to
yeah.
find one particular item. I'm sorry about that.
No
Uh,
problem, man. For those of you guys that haven't had a peek into Boris's collection before, I'm fairly certain he has to have like the record for the largest Sherlock/Bowker collection outside of the United States. I mean,
yeah, well,
he's got
actually,
most of the stuff and a lot of it on VHS as well, which is rad.
not even trying to brag, but you are probably correct.
Oh, go
uh,
for it, brag, baby. You've earned it.
Self on the back.
thank you. Damn. Okay, I'm really sorry about this little
No
incon.
problem,
Ah,
bud.
here it is. I couldn't find it. So yeah, when Joe Sherlock was the director of photography on The Seekers, and he designed this picture, which was originally a promo poster, which I eventually used for this VHS cover. So yeah, if I had run into this picture somewhere when at the time when I was into the ring, it probably wouldn't have drawn that much of my attention. But yeah,
Right.
this did, and I was when I found this movie on eBay. At first, I just looked it up on Google before buying it, and I was even more confused then because whenever you look up a movie on the internet, you can find all sorts of information about it. Yet, when I Googled this movie, I could barely find anything, almost as if the movie didn't exist yet. There it was on eBay, like a few clicks away from being bought by
Oh
me.
yeah. Well, Boris
Yeah.
is probably like, maybe it really is cursed. Is this even a real film? Or is it just gonna kill me after I watch it?
Well, it didn't kill me, but uh, after I watched it, a lot of things changed in my life. So maybe you could say it killed the old me and brought a new version of me into existence.
That's
Yeah, Boris
beautiful, man.
2.0.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So you ordered the DVD, and I imagine it took a little while to get there to Croatia. And was it pretty frustrating when you were waiting and trying to look up more information on it? Because that can be a thing with indie films, the lack of stuff
yeah.
online about them. So
Uh,
it's like,
until then, funnily enough, such movies were very obscure in my country. So until I discovered The Seekers, I actually never even knew that independent movies existed, or even if someone was making them, I guess I assumed they would just be kept at the home of whoever made it. I never thought anyone was actually releasing such movies on DVD, so that was entirely new to me.
nice. Yeah, opened up a whole new world for you there buying that DVD.
Exactly. So when I watched this movie, at first the only thing I liked about it is the main actress and the character she played. The actress,
Yeah, you
those of
did.
sorry, what did you say?
No, I was just saying, yeah, you certainly did like her. Still
Yeah,
do.
those of you who watch Bowker's and Sherlock's movies may have heard about her. Her name is Felicia Pandolfi. Here you can see how her name is spelled. Uh, and yeah, to me, I had the impression she was by far the most talented actress in the movie and by far the best looking one. And I really liked her character a lot. Uh, on one hand, I liked the actress so much that I wanted to collect all other movies that she was in, and at the same time, her character in the movie whose name is Total Evil, has yeah, it's an intentional reference to the phrase Total Evil, and she's a very mysterious character. Like there are some small indications of who she is and why she does what she does in the movie, but you never really get to know anything about her for sure. But as I was into the Ring franchise until then, and the Ring franchise, especially the Japanese movies, are a lot about noticing small details and piecing them together in order to figure out how some things happened and why. So I applied the same mindset here. I analyzed the Seekers and developed an interpretation of Total Evil as a character, like who she is and why she does what she does. And I got actually so intrigued by that interpretation, which at that point I thought I assumed it actually was what John Bowker had on his mind, which later on turned out he had something different on his mind, but okay. I still liked my interpretation a lot, and I wanted to write it as a novel, a spin off about Total Evil, like a story that would show her past and what led her to become what she is, and her side of the story before, during, and after the events portrayed in the movie. And I made contact to the current copyright owner, and I was given permission to write that story, which I am very grateful for.
Yeah, that's rad, dude.
Thank you. So, my novel, which I have a printed version of it here, it's still unpublished. I would be very happy to find a publisher for it, but
We'll have to
it's
work on looking into that, bud. That's thick with two C's right
Yeah.
there. I like it. I want to read it.
yeah. Thank you.
Really like that cover art too, man. You got
Oh,
T-shirts printed up to that, I see.
thank you. And yes, this is an unofficial cover art for my novel. I designed it myself with.
How do I get one of those shirts, boy? I'll rock that
Oh,
all day.
thank you. Well, I had it printed at a local copy shop. Yeah, I have it on my T-shirt as well.
Beautiful print job. That's how it's done, guys. Look at that. We can read the letters. I want it. I want one. I'll pay for the
Thank you.
Croatian shipping and everything.
Well, I can send you the digital file, and if you have any local copy shop where it could
Oh
be
yeah.
printed, I say by all
Get
means
that going
do
on
it.
T Public, man.
Say, sorry, what did you say?
I said we'll get that going on T Public so everyone can just order the shirts. So look into that. I'll update the description of this interview with the link at some point in the future once I get it set up.
Thank you.
You can get your own Total Evil shirt. Support that fucking official fan art, dude. It sounds like if you got permission from the actual copyright holders, you're not even just dorking around writing unofficial fan art. That's like official fan fiction that you're writing, or an
Well,
Yeah.
official novel, basically.
actually, yes, it is,
Yeah.
and in the novel, I also make a lot of references to John Bowker's and Joe Sherlock's movies. So, aside from wanting to get my novel out there for people to read it, I would also like it to be a sort of promotion for Joe Sherlock and John Bowker. And I
Oh,
also
yeah.
do mention that it was based on a movie by John Bowker, distributed by SRS Cinema, which is the name of the company that made this DVD. So I would also, if possible, like to give some promotion to that company and their movies. So yeah, if that worked out, I would be very happy because I'm a fan of these people, and I would be very happy if people would discover my work, and if it would also get them interested not only in my writing but also in Bowker's and Sherlock's movies and in SRS cinema. And I know all those movies so far have a rather limited audience. Many people still have not even heard about them. A lot of people don't even know these people exist. And I would be happy if I could change that fact.
Yeah, man. Get the word out there. It is, a pretty insulated community, the indie film distribution sort of scene. Not a lot of people that aren't already into the stuff know about it. So any way to turn
Indeed.
more people onto it is a good thing. Now, you were already writing this novel before you'd actually been in contact with Joe and stuff. Like, help us sort out the timeline there a little bit. You got The Seekers, you watched it, you loved it, you were inspired creatively by it to go out and get permission to write this novel.
Yeah.
Had you already been in contact with Joe and John and stuff by that point, or?
Actually, not yet. I will tell how I got in contact with them. So yeah, I was developing an idea for the novel, but it took me, I think, a little longer to fully develop it and decide I actually wanted to write it. Yeah, I did want to get permission for it, and at first I thought John Bowker was the person I would need to talk to. But there was very soon there was also another thing I wanted to talk to. I wanted to talk to John about. As I said, aside from my novel, I also wanted to collect other movies with Felicia Pandolfi. And on IMDb, I read she was in 4 movies aside from The Seekers. Those were Dreamwalkers, The Evil Maker, Abomination, The Evil Maker 2, and Bloodsucking Redneck Vampires. And very soon I found this DVD on eBay. It wasn't difficult to find a double feature of The Evil Maker and Abomination, The Evil Maker 2. You can see on the back side it contains both movies. And I also found a copy of Bloodsucking Redneck Vampires, actually a re-release of it, where it was renamed into Inbred Redneck Vampires. And as I was googling about those movies, I also found out she was in a movie called Beyond the Lost World, The Alien Conspiracy 3, and I was able to buy that one too. But the problem was I wanted to collect them all, as they say in Pokemon, gotta catch them all. uh,
Right.
yeah, and I wanted to buy Dreamwalkers, but it was unreleased at the time. But yeah, that didn't stop me. So yeah, I wanted to contact John Bowker and ask him if he would make an unofficial copy of Dreamwalkers for me. I would have been willing to pay for it, even if it's not usually being sold. But at first, I didn't receive any response from John Bowker. Not sure if he even saw my message on Facebook. So I googled about him and found a video on Joe Sherlock's YouTube channel, which he made. He made a birthday video for John Bowker at one point, and I left a comment on that video asking if anyone knew how to contact John Bowker. And Joe Sherlock responded to me and said he would help. So that was how I started to interact with Joe. And I told him I was interested in Dreamwalkers, and he said he would tell John about it and ask him for a permission to make a DVD copy for me. But Joe told me not to get my hopes up too high because throughout the years, Dreamwalkers was made in 1999 or 2000 or something like that. And throughout the years, John Bowker was asked many times to release the movie, but he never got to it. So Joe said maybe I shouldn't get my hopes up too high. But when he asked John about it, John said that he would think about it. And a week later, he said that he was okay with Joe making a copy for me, and that it felt like a miracle. Like it sounded almost too good to be true. I was so excited about her that I even got anxiety that something might go wrong. That by the time Joe managed to make a copy for me, like what if John changed his mind for whatever reason? And things like that.
Right.
Yeah, but eventually Joe made a copy for me, and he also told me, as I told him, I was interested in collecting all the movie with Felicia Pandolfi, and he told me there were some movies with her that were not on IMDb, and he asked me if I was interested in those too. And I was like, no, how could I possibly be interested in those? Sarcasm, of course. So those other movies were Last of the Vampire Hookers, which a long time ago it came out on VHS, but once it was sold out, it was not officially released on DVD until much later. This cover was custom made by me, by the way.
Good job, dude. I
But
like
yeah,
it.
thanks.
Looks good.
But thank you,
Just got that in the mail yesterday.
Oh, this newer release by Tony Masiello, right?
Yeah. Yep. I got a whole
Yeah,
stack of movies in from them yesterday.
I have that one somewhere around here. Oh,
Isn't it on there with Crimson Heather? I think is the other movie on
yes,
the feature with it.
yes, and Felicia is also in Crimson Heather too, which was on this DVD, along with two other short movies by Joe Sherlock called Dimension of Blood and Monster in the Garage. And she was also in a short movie called The Dark Bite by John Bowker, which was included in Joe Sherlock's anthology Beneath a Dead Moon. So yeah, when indeed, and she was also in
and
the
in a
short.
certain short that you made. Yeah.
Oh,
Boris.
yeah, technically she was credited as an actress in my short movie too, because there is a scene in my Boris short where the characters played by my friends watch a horror movie, and it was it was the one from Beneath a Dead Moon, and you can see Felicia on screen, and that's why she is credited as if she suddenly played in a new movie in 2019, even though the last one she really played in was Blood-Sucking Redneck Vampires, which was released in 2004. And
hey
yeah,
man,
she
that's
was
some
not.
strong fandom there, though. When your interest in the lady it goes so deep, it ends up leading to your IMDb getting updated. Great.
Exactly. uh, yeah, and she was also in
I think
this.
it's safe to say, Boris, that you're probably the reason we have a physical release of Dreamwalkers and possibly several other ones of those older films that it sounds like they didn't have much interest in releasing at the time for whatever reason.
Actually,
so
yes.
thank you for hitting them up and getting them to do that.
You're absolutely welcome, and honestly, yes, technically it's true. If I hadn't been begging for Dreamwalkers back then, it probably wouldn't have been released nowadays. So it's actually a great honor for me to even think of that fact. So yeah, I ended up getting a copy of Dreamwalkers. I made this cover myself. Well, the design is based on an old artwork by Joe Sherlock, but I cut these characters out by myself and put them together and created the backside. And yeah, then until then, Dreamwalkers existed only on VHS, and even in that form, it was not released. The copies were made just for friends and family and cast and crew and so on. But yeah, once a DVD copy was made for me, John Bowker told Joe Sherlock that he was okay with Joe selling it to anyone who wanted it. So yeah, that was how the movie was technically released, even though it didn't have any fancy official release. But Joe was making homemade copies for everyone interested.
Yeah, man. It was on his table at the convention when I met him. Like, it's neat to think that like you're the reason that was on the table. Like physically in Oregon, I saw the movie sitting there. Because you got online, we're so into it that you hit them up, man. I mean, that's all the way from Croatia. You're toiling in the dark over there writing your novel, and then go ahead.
Indeed, even I am somewhat mind blown by that, and like I said, it's a great honor to me. So sometime after that, this man, Tony Masiello, released several Joe Sherlock movies, which some of them were released before but were rather obscure. Some were sold out and out of print and so on. And one of the movies he released was Dreamwalkers. Yeah, this is Tony
Yeah, baby.
Masiello's version. Uh, Indeed. So he also Tony Masiello included this kind of like postcard thing inside, which is directly based on the cover I made for my personal
Yeah, that's
collection.
amazing, dude. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like
Thank you. So
they didn't avoid paying respect to Boris for his like version of it that he got. No, that's cool. That's big ups
thank
to
you.
Tony and those guys for doing that. So any
Yeah,
guys that want to check this shit out, it's svhorror.com. You can get a good grip of Joe Sherlock stuff over there, along with several films, a couple of which that Cody appears in. I got to make an order to get that in here soon. I need that. What's it? Cooter and what's the other guy's name?
Pork chop.
Oh, God, it's so good. Pork chop and Cooter.
yeah.
Yeah, those guys are going to become horror icons, I think. But yeah, man, that's super rad that you just the love of these obscure B movies like inspired you creatively, and I like that you didn't have any sort of hesitation to just reach out to people and try to further your collection, which then in turn ended up furthering all of ours because you got them to release films that maybe they weren't in any hurry to get out there to the general public, and I just think that's amazing.
Thank you.
As some of you guys might know, Boris did end up appearing in a Joe Sherlock film via his short film Boris, which, if I understand it correctly, is technically 2 short films that you shot that Joe was able to stitch together and make them into one larger short film that then made up the Boris segment of the first Dark Zone 13. How did that end up coming about, where you got into contact with Joe and eventually ended up in making a movie for him?
Okay, so here's how. As you know, at first I only wanted to collect the movies where Felicia Pandolfi appeared, but while I was watching those movies, I learned to appreciate generally the creativity of independent filmmakers, like the fact that they are just normal people like all of us, that none of them professionally studied to be a filmmaker or anything like that, and the fact that they make those movies and do the best they can with what they have at their disposition. And even though it usually doesn't look quite like a Hollywood blockbuster, they do what they do because they love it and they put a great amount of effort and love into it. And I learned to appreciate it. And also, as a writer, I learned to appreciate these unique ideas they come up with for their movies, which you will never see in other movies. And also, uh, there is also something else. If you have watched The Seekers, you will know the movie revolves around an abandoned looking warehouse being falsely advertised as a video store. And in the radio advert, Felicia's character says, right now at the video warehouse, we have a wide selection of never before seen videos from all over the country, rare and hard to find, strange and bizarre. And when I heard that
You
radio
could
advert,
kidnap almost everybody in our friend group with that scheme.
Yeah.
I would want
Shut up and take my money.
that warehouse looking for real estate.
Thank you.
It would work
And,
on every one of us.
More than once.
Yeah. So when I heard
Probably,
that,
yeah. I imagine I could get abducted and nearly killed and then still fall for the scheme a second time. Like maybe this time it's for real, It's worth a shot.
Yeah, by the way, this is my impersonation of Total Evil's laughter from The Seekers. Uh,
I love
Perfect.
it. Yeah. I need to
Thank
like
you.
a notification on my phone. Do you do an American accent? I was like, can you do an American accent, Boris? Like, what's your impression of how we talk?
Well, I don't really think I can do that. I'm not that good at impersonating
Hey, it's worth a
accents.
shot. Some people have their American impressions, and it's always fun to hear.
Well, the people I interact with like this are mostly American, so the way I have learned to speak English is based on the American English, so I think my accent is more or less the closest to the American accent that I can get. Okay, maybe if I practiced a lot, maybe I could.
I think you should next when we do a follow-up episode. I'm gonna need the American accent for us. I think that'll be
I'll
a good
try,
thing.
although I cannot guarantee anything. That
Hey,
probably doesn't
it's the
sound
thought that
good.
counts.
Thanks. So, yeah, when I heard that radio advert in The Seekers, I thought it was a reference to the general selection of John Bowker's and Joe Sherlock's movies because they did make a fair share of movies, and as Total Evil says, they are rare and hard to find and strange and bizarre. So
It's definitely true.
Indeed. So that was what made me want to collect other Bowker and Sherlock movies, even though where Felicia doesn't appear. So yeah, I continued to collect Bowker's and Sherlock's movies, which I also have here. So I could show you. Well, couldn't show every single one individually because that would take a lot of time, but I can show my pile of DVDs. But
Yeah,
first,
whip them out, boy.
yeah, but first I have to move this figure, which is a handmade figure I have of Total Evil, Felicia Pandolfi's character. It was made specifically for me by the wife of an online friend of mine from the UK. Uh,
Looks
she's
great.
holding.
Amazing, dude. I'm impressed by that thing.
Thank you. It that figure means a lot to me. I keep it on a table, which you probably cannot see on my webcam right now, but I keep it there, surrounded by a few other Total Evil items. It's kind of like a mini altar that I keep there for inspiration for my writing.
That's
That's
Uh,
amazing,
perfect.
dude.
Yeah.
Thank you. Uh, so yeah, I was going to show my collection of Joe Sherlock movies
Look at that stack.
unrelated to Felicia Pandolfi. Well, yeah, here I also have what you mentioned, this edition of Last
Mm-hmm.
of the Vampire Hookers and Crimson Heather, which was eventually released by Tony Masiello. Uh, but yeah, here are my other uh, Joe Sherlock movies. This is not all. I will have to show them in multiple parts. I cannot hold them all at once. This here, that's all Joe Sherlock stuff. Some movies I have multiple editions of, which is why there are so many movies. He did make many movies, but not that many. So yeah, there are some movies I have multiple editions of. This here, oh, bloody hell.
Some good stacks, man. Some stuff in there I still need, I think.
Thank you. Uh, Here are some more. In case anyone wants to hear more details about any of these or where to buy them, you can contact me on Facebook. My main profile is named Filip Hanžek, which is my real name, but I have recently been more active on another account called Filip Hoot Hoot, like Hoot Hoot from Pokemon.
Oh,
That's another joke that I will maybe say more about another time. It's a long story and not quite the topic here. But yeah, uh,
so basically, you got into Seekers, and that sort of led you into diving into all the other films that the dudes were involved in. What was your first Joe Sherlock movie that you watched that was just a standalone Sherlock flick?
oh, well, the first Joe Sherlock movie I watched was Blood Sucking Redneck Vampires. Well, yeah, I bought that one because it had Felicia Pandolfi. And after that, which one of these did I watch first? I think it was Beneath a Dead Moon. Yeah, I think I watched that one after Dreamwalkers. And if you're asking what the first one was that I watched that didn't have to do with Felicia, I think that I'm not entirely sure anymore, but I think that would be Drifter from 2013, which is funnily enough the year when I discovered all these movies. This movie here, I
Mm-hmm.
at least I think that was the first one I watched.
It's
I
a good
believe
one.
that was the movie that brought us into contact because you did a discussion with Dave on it, and I was commenting in the live chat from work while you
Ooh,
guys were doing it. And that's
ooh,
when I became aware of
could
you.
be.
And then I think shortly after, I joined you guys for a discussion of, I have no clue what movie it was now, but it
Uh,
was a film that we watched and talked about.
yeah,
And that
so
was a couple of years ago. Like, it took me 2 years to finally watch Dark Zone 13, which is the movie you're in. So we were,
yeah.
sort of online friends for a good while before I even dove into watching what you'd done yet.
Uh, Indeed. So how did that came to be? How did that come to be? Back
I
in
just finally
two
started
thousand.
collecting. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Sorry,
what
man.
did you say?
I thought you
Sorry,
were
I did.
asking me a question, but you were about to explain something. We just had
Oh,
overlap because of my signal. It's my bad.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, no,
So,
you're fine. It's my fault.
okay. So in 2014, Joe and I came up with an idea that I could make a short movie for him. At that time, the idea was Joe had an anthology which I have somewhere right here, but it's not quite easy to find now among all these movies. An anthology called Truly Dreadful Tales, which consists of four short movies. And Joe came up with an idea of creating more and putting them up on YouTube. So he wrote scripts and sent them to various different people, and the one he wrote for me was the Boris short. Well, at that time it was called Truly Dreadful Tales Boris, and it was only the first part of the movie uh, which which contains my character and the blonde woman who moves into the supposedly haunted house, which is my house, by the way. And the movie ended with the scene. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say how it ends. Maybe I shouldn't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but yeah, basically the first half of the final version of Boris was originally the whole movie, but later on Later on, we came up with an idea for a sequel to be made, which I filmed with some friends of mine. And but yeah, when we filmed that, Joe came up with the idea of instead of making it Boris 2, he merged both shorts into one and created this final version of Boris, which became a part of Dark Zone 13, which I must say it's a huge honor for me to have my movie as a part of an anthology by Joe Sherlock. And it's
I can
not only
imagine, dude.
indeed not only Joe Sherlock, but also my name appears there on the same cover. For example, with Jackie Neiman Jones, who played in Manos, The Hands of Fate, which is a somewhat famous B movie, and recently in
That
the
it
sequel.
is.
Yeah, she was in another Joe Sherlock movie, in several Joe Sherlock movies, and one of them is this short. I think it's called "Just Beyond the Corner of Your Eye." I think that's the title. It's
Yeah,
another short
that's the
in
one.
Dark. Yeah, in
It's
Dark
out there
Zone
walking through the
13.
woods.
Yes, yes.
And I think Cody just grabbed off the shelf, but I believe you are prominently
I mean, you're
featured on a lot of the
yeah,
artwork.
you're front and center, baby.
Oh,
Yep.
Look at that handsome devil.
So glorious.
oh, thank you, thank you.
It's amazing.
And not only that, I mean, you're same thing on the box set.
Oh, nice. Unfortunately, I don't even have that box set yet, but I would like
Shit,
to
we're gonna
add
have
it
to
to
change
my
that soon,
collection.
Each on
bud.
the back too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
would
you
you
gotta get
maybe like
yourself a
to
copy of that, boy.
tell me how much you paid for it? I may look into getting one myself.
Joe's
Yeah,
got
like
him.
$100, I think, or 85 if you get it through
I'm
Joe.
sure.
So
I'm sure Joe would give you the actor discount.
Whew,
yeah,
maybe,
I think if you
hopefully.
hit Joe up, he would help you figure out how to get a set of that for cheap. You need it, Boris. You're all over the thing. It's let's say that not only are you now like tied obviously to Dark Zone 13 because you're in it, but with how prominently you are on the artwork and the promotional posters for Joe's stuff, you're basically linked forever to Skullface Astronaut in general.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think actually
huge.
of what you guys were talking about it at first, I thought that you somehow like owned the company or something when I first tuned into Dave's channel and saw you guys on there. So I was like, oh shit, this guy's in this movie by this company. And then shortly after that, Dave was showing around a bunch of the Skullface astronaut stuff. So before I even had a full grasp of your involvement in it, I thought you were just connected to the company somehow. So and now
Oh
it's very
wow,
much a
that's a
reality with the way
compliment,
it's all
but
presented.
unfortunately not. But yeah, I guess now I am kind of a part of the history
Yeah, it's
of
part of
Joe
your legacy,
Sherlock's
bro.
movies. Indeed. Well, I do have a DVD of Dark Zone 13. It's somewhere around here. I wish I could find it easily, but all my stuff is tumbling down here now as I have so much of it. Oh yeah,
That's a
before
beautiful
Dark
thing when you
Zone,
have so much schlock that it's tumbling all over the place now.
literally. Fun fact, before Dark Zone 13, this first version of Boris, which is slightly differently edited from the final version, even the part that does not involve the second half, even the first half of the final version is edited differently from how the original Boris short was, and the original can be found as a bonus short in Joe Sherlock's anthology Beyond the Wall of Fear, which I have just stumbled upon it while trying to find Dark Zone 13,
I didn't
which
know that.
like sorry, what?
I didn't know that you were on as a bonus feature on Beyond the Wall of Fear. I didn't know that.
Yeah, although at that time I used a different name instead of my real name, I thought it would sound cooler if I used an alias. I named myself Desmond Headley, which is the name of a character from my novel, from my Total Evil novel. But yeah,
That's
later
awesome.
on I figured out, thanks. I figured out it was better to just use my real name, that it's actually cool for people from that part of the world to know that someone from the other side of the planet was involved. But yeah, I was going to show the VHS version of Dark Zone 13, which does include a screenshot from my Boris short. And it was an extreme honor for me when I saw it, when I realized they not only used the screenshot from my movie, but put it on the front cover. Uh, so yeah, this shot really turned out even scarier than I thought it would, and I was very proud of it, and Joe liked it a lot, and yeah, it became a kind of iconic screenshot from my
It
Boris
is,
short.
dude.
Oh, you look great in that picture.
Thank you,
Yeah, it's
thank
the
you.
whole short itself is genuinely creepy. I think it's one of, and I'm not saying this just to placate you with compliments or whatever. I think the Boris short is one of the creepier shorts that Joe's ever included in the anthologies I've seen so far. Anyway, like
Well, really,
it's
well,
genuinely
thank you.
scary, dude. You know, and it
You
captures
feel
very much. You can tell you're a fan of The Ring by watching Boris, but not
really?
in a way where it feels like it's like ripping the ring off or anything. It's just you can tell that's like in the DNA of what you're doing there. You know,
Ooh,
um,
what
and I think that's
similarity
real
with the
cool.
ring did you notice in Boris? Because it was not intentional. What similarity did you notice?
It's just in the DNA, that general flavor of it. You know, there's a very J horror quality to the way your character
Wo-
looks. Just
Wow,
the idea of like those isolated haunted house kind of scenarios in general is very reminiscent of Japanese horror. It's just in
wow.
there. There's
Well,
no point in the short where you do anything that's like a callback to The Ring that I noticed, but it's just you can tell like kind of how if I made a short, it'd be very apparent that I'm a fan of like certain types of grindhouse slasher films and things like that, just in the way it's set up.
oh,
Um, and the way you shot it is really kind of claustrophobic too, and it's got a lot
wow.
of cool qualities to it, man.
Wow. Well, while I was doing it, I didn't even plan to make it sound the way you are just saying. So thank you.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the creative process, man. Sometimes that shit that is just in you comes out in your final product, whether it's like intentional or not, you know. Um,
It, uh, indeed, I actually somewhat noticed that with my writing, which is not entirely connected to Joe Sherlock's movies, but at the same time it is connected since I developed the idea for my Total Evil novel. Almost all prose I have written since then is set in that universe. The
right.
amount of text I wrote, this novel, uh, as you can see, this is huge, but that's not even all. Later on, I also came up with an idea for a sequel that's approximately just as long as this one. And I ended up also writing some shorter side stories about some smaller characters. And also some alternate universe stories, even some poetry and essays and stuff like that. And the whole amount of writing I've done, which would have never happened if it wasn't for the Seekers. The whole amount of writing I've done has already, believe me or not, exceeded the length of the Bible, and it's not even fully
That's
finished
so
yet.
legendary, dude. That is legendary.
Thank you.
that's Absolutely legendary.
Thank
You
you.
topped the Bible with your Seekers fan fiction. That is glorious, dude.
Well,
It's
actually,
guaranteed that it's a better read than the Bible too.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll sign off on that without having read a sentence of it. Like I'll guarantee you I've done more for you.
I have read the major part of the Bible, not all of it, but I did read a lot, and there are some parts that are actually interesting to read. Some
Oh
are
yeah, there's tons of horror and fantasy and all types of fun stuff in the Bible. You know
indeed,
what you need to
yeah.
write though, dude, is a small you need to write Boris versus Sadako and then have Joe do it as like a free comic book to give out at the conventions. I think that would be amazing.
Oh, I would love that.
I
Yeah,
bet
actually,
it's too perfect to not do it, man.
funnily enough, I could have someone play Sadako. I do have a long black wig. At one point, I cosplayed Samara Morgan, so I would just need to get a new white dress that's a full length and not big, as covered in dirt as Samara sees in the American version. And yeah, theoretically, something like that could be done. And yeah, also fun fact for Halloween 2018, I also cosplayed Total Evil. I have a dress a lot like this one that you can see on this figure. It's in my closet. I wanted to get it
Oh
out and
yeah.
show.
I'm sure you fill it out nicely too, bro. Didn't you cosplay? Didn't you cosplay as a Blood Creek Woodsman before too? I feel like I remember you
Yes.
showing me photos of that.
Yes, I did that cosplay for a photo when Blood Creek Woodsman was released. It was by the beginning of 2015. When I received my copy, Joe asked me if I would take a photo with it so that he would add it to the collection of photos of people posing with copies of his movies. And then I figured out why couldn't I also put a quick cosplay of Blood Creek Woodsman together, as it's fairly simple to put together. I found a shirt in my father's closet that's fairly similar to the one worn by Blood Creek Woodsman, and I just put my trousers on and some white cloth over my head, and yeah, I took an axe in my hand and the Blood Creek Woodsman DVD in the other, and that was pretty much it.
You'll
It's
have to send
great.
that to me. I haven't
I
seen it.
liked it a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely, yeah. I wish I had thought to ask about that beforehand, so I could have got the picture prepped and we could have put it on the screen right here. Unfortunately, we don't have the technology to do that on the fly, but we'll post it on the Schlockaholic page as well for you guys. And any other
Yeah.
photos you want to send of your collection and all that stuff for us, we can post them up there for you.
Thank you.
So back to the. Sorry, what?
I was going to say I wish I had gotten my Boris robe and my Total Evil dress out of my closet to show it. It would take a little bit of time to dig it out now. So
We'll do that on part 2.
Yeah, we can get you in it in the fall. What's that?
ooh,
We can do that for
thank
part
you.
2.
Thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah. We'll all be in Boris robes in part 2. All naked under them too. That's
Of course.
Well, sorry to disappoint you. I wasn't quite all naked under that robe.
You could never disappoint us, Boris. So now back to the Boris short. How did you put that to, like, who is the lady in the first portion of it?
Oh, that lady, the one with blonde hair, that lady was actually played by my mother. And aside from playing it, sorry.
No, I was just
Sorry,
saying.
what did you?
Okay, like that's
Oh, yeah. So she was the one who played in it, and she also helped with the makeup because I'm not really good at using makeup myself. um,
oh nice. Did she help
Interesting.
with the makeup in the second half of it as well, or was she involved
Uh,
with your follow-up short?
Actually, yes. In some shooting sessions, she helped me with the makeup. In some other sessions, my makeup was done by my friend Vedrana, who played a character named Mira in the Boris short. Um, oh, what
And so,
was
how
I
did you
going?
rally together your friends for the second one? Was it kind of like, were they aware of who Joe was or what you were doing, or did they think they were just helping you out with a fan
So
project or something?
So here is how it happened. At one point, I was talking to my friends Mislav and Helena, who ended up playing in my Boris short. Their characters were named Damir and Nevenka. Uh, they they came over to my place and we were wanted to watch some B movies. So of course, what would I show them if not Bowker and Sherlock stuff? So I think we watched first, of course, The Seekers. Then I also showed them the Boris short. And what else did we watch? I think The Evil Maker and Dreamwalkers, things like that. But yeah, I did show them my Boris short, and they said somewhat like a joke, but maybe they also partially meant it. They said maybe you should also make a sequel like Boris 2, and I asked, would you play it? Oh wait, no. The first time it was only my friends Mislav and Helena, but they also said when we watched The Seekers, they also said they had two other friends who would also enjoy such movies. This girl named Vedrana and her boyfriend, who is also named Filip, just like me. And they next time we gathered and watched some B movies, some of them said we should said I should make a sequel to the Boris short, and I asked, would you play in it? And Mislav, Helena, and Vedrana, they said they would. Philip said that he wouldn't be interested in playing, but he would be willing to assist with the camera and do things like that to contribute to the movie. And then I presented the idea to Joe Sherlock, and as you know, he wrote a script for Boris too, and we started to shoot it. And but yeah, then he eventually figured out instead of making it another short, he could just extend the original Boris short with that version. So
Now, how far apart were they shot from each other? Like, what's the time period between the two?
mm,
Because they stitched together real well, you know.
oh,
It's
thank you.
surprising how good they
Well,
fit together.
the first part was, I think, shot in the summer 2014, and the second part was, I think, at the beginning of 2019.
Oh
I
wow,
Shit, dude,
remember,
I thought maybe a summer apart or something, but 4 years or whatever.
wow.
That's wait,
yeah,
yeah,
at least
that's
something like 4 years, maybe a little more. I remember I was in a lot of hurry, and since it was a little difficult to find moments when we were all available for a shooting session, and Joe wanted to go to this convention called Crypticon Seattle in May, and I got very anxious. And yeah, in Seattle, he wanted to screen Dark Zone 13, so my Boris short needed to be done by then, and I for some time I was terribly anxious that we might not be able to make it on time, but eventually we did, which was a great relief for me. Uh,
That's
so
awesome, dude. I also
thank
think it's
you.
particularly awesome that your tendency to make connections based on these B movies isn't something that you just do online. Like, it sounds like you've pretty actively showed your friends Sherlock movies and stuff like that, and it's super rad that the idea for the Boris sequel was basically born out of you guys just getting together to have a B movie marathon.
Exactly.
And they liked your shit so much that they encouraged you to do more of it. That's amazing, man. So you've built, it sounds
Thanks.
like, a tiny little fan community of Joe Sherlock fans over there all the way in Croatia. I'd wager you were probably the first person from the country to import their stuff.
uh, I
I mean,
believe
have you
so,
ever met
yeah.
any other Croatian fans? What's that?
Actually, later on, yeah, when I was printing some of the DVD covers I designed for my collection, the guy working at a copy shop realized those were some big horror movies, and he told me he knew another guy who liked such movies, and I ended up speaking to the guy, and he said he actually had heard of Joe Sherlock before. He
Oh,
maybe wasn't
nice.
quite as much of a fan as I was and still am. Thanks. But yeah, he was familiar with the movie Drifter. And when I asked him if he heard of John Bowker, he said he had not heard of him as a director, but he did hear of him as an actor in Drifter. And yeah, uh, I also remember at one point I read on a Croatian forum someone mentioned blood-sucking redneck vampires, which I heard at one point someone put that movie up on torrents, which is probably the reason why someone from Croatia found it, because most Croatian
Right.
people, well, yeah, piracy is technically illegal in Croatia, but most people still do it, and the authorities are not as they don't really pay that much attention to punishing piracy as they do for some other crimes. So yeah, even though piracy is illegal, mostly everyone does it here. If you find someone here who does use the internet but doesn't use it to download movies, people would be like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" But
What are you doing on there then?
yeah, so
You know,
that's very common here, and I can't deny
unfortunately,
I
with
am.
underground stuff too, piracy is the only way a lot of people can see it.
Uh,
So it has its
yeah,
purpose. I just firmly believe you should purchase the stuff if you can. But
uh,
I've
yeah.
pirated a fair amount of stuff growing up just because there was no way to find it other than to download it online. So it's
Uh, I agree when it comes to independent movies that they shouldn't be pirated because all the profit they make on those movies is very small to begin with, and actually there isn't much real profit because the major part of the money they make on one movie is usually spent on the production on the next movie. So those
yeah.
people mostly do it because they like it and they enjoy making such movies. And if you pirate those movies, you sabotage this small money they make on it, and technically you hinder them from making their next movie. So that is why I prefer not to pirate independent movies, some blockbusters and stuff like that make millions of dollars. Honestly, I don't care if I pirate those, even though people would
Yeah,
say
fuck them.
which
If I need to watch the new GI Joe movie or something, I don't give a shit about raising the Jolly Roger
basically
to get it. But Now it's a lot easier too because like with Vimeo and stuff, you can just go rent a lot of these independent movies straight from the people, and they actually get a little bit of
Yeah,
money for you viewing it. Back when I was in high
no,
school, things were a little different. You know, if you wanted to watch a lot of these obscure, like shot on video movies or old grindhouse flicks and stuff, pretty much the only way to do it was to download a copy of it and like burn a VHS rip onto a DVD or whatever. So I would do that
indeed.
sometimes back in the day. But I've
Uh,
since upgraded all those bootlegs that I used to make to proper official editions of the films. So I mean, I think with this stuff, it's a little different than average piracy. Like if you download a lot of these movies, it's because you're into this kind of shit. And chances are you're gonna eventually buy a legit copy because that's just how
ooh,
fandom for this stuff kind of works, you know.
yes,
Uh,
yes. Whenever I really care about some movie, I do buy it. I do buy a DVD, not Blu-rays, unfortunately. Although I do have a few Blu-rays, but I usually don't buy them because I don't have a Blu-ray player. But yeah, as you could see, I do have a lot of DVDs. And speaking of Vimeo, yeah, most Joe Sherlock movies can be found there nowadays, and you can rent them really cheaply. Even The Seekers, well, that's John Bowker's movie. It's on the Vimeo channel of SRS Cinema, and you can rent it for $1 if anyone wants to watch it and see what that movie was that inspired me to write a collection of stories that's longer than the Bible. And
yeah,
some of
yeah,
you,
dude, might become the new Bible. Who knows? Yeah,
I
dude, you
wouldn't
know, all you
mind.
guys out there in YouTube land, if you want to support independent horror and stuff like that, even if you own all the Sherlock movies, pop over to Vimeo and rent a bunch of them so Joe gets a little chunk of change. Be a good way
Indeed.
to donate in Boris's honor because, you know, and
Yes,
definitely check
thank you.
out Dark Zone 13 so you can get in on it short. Speaking of costs and stuff, did that cost you much to be able to shoot it, or were you able to pretty much put it together with stuff you already had access to? I know you'd mentioned
Oh,
that you had the robe for some time ready, so that was
oh,
something you already owned.
uh, yes, actually, that robe kind of has a history too. It's a very old
Yeah, it
robe.
does.
I got it. Sorry, what?
I was just saying, yeah, it does, man. Most people don't have a custom tailored fucking cult robe in their closet, so I just think it's cool that you have it to begin with, you know?
Actually, yeah, I had it custom tailored for Halloween in 2006.
That's such a
So I
gangster
was,
move, dude. Most people don't do stuff like that. Just
uh,
get a custom
thank
tailored
you.
robe.
Yeah, I just wanted to have something like that. I always liked dark costumes and stuff like that. Even before that, I had several capes and cloaks and things like that. And I think it was in 2006 or 2005. I was on vacation, and there I met a guy who had a similar robe, although it was made of a lighter material and it was gray, not black. But yeah, it was also huge with an oversized hood and huge sleeves. Like this wide sleeves, and I was like, wow, I love this. I just must have something like that. And I got black robe custom tailored, and I use it for a prank I pulled on my family on Halloween.
Hell yeah, dude. That's amazing. Did you ever think when you were buying it that it was going to end up on fucking DVD and Blu-rays and box sets
No,
all across the world?
no, I didn't expect that. So yeah, when that happened, it was really cool. Like when Joe and I were thinking what kind of stuff I could use to put some horror thing together, that robe came to my mind because, of course, I like cosplay a lot, and whenever I've made or bought something like that, I never threw it away. So of course I kept that robe, and I still have it. um,
It's a great
so
robe.
what?
I said it's a great robe.
Oh,
It's
thank
got
you.
many uses. I'm sure you could use that in several different cosplays. I mean, you could be Emperor Palpatine anytime that you want.
Uh, Actually, yes. At one point, I didn't attend any event, but I did take a photo of myself in that robe, posing as Palpatine or Darth Sidious.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
Go ahead. What's that, Cody?
That's awesome.
Thank you. Oh yeah, Cody, you haven't been saying much here. If
Yeah,
you
you got any
have any
questions for him, bud?
questions,
I'm letting you go. I just want to listen to your story, man.
oh yeah, well, what else could I tell about Joe Sherlock stuff? Well, since
Well, I wanted to touch more on the cost of doing it. You had the robe already. Did you have to
oh,
compensate your friends for any time off, or did you guys just shoot it whenever you had free time that you were all available together?
we were doing it when we all had time, and yeah, like I said, since it depended a lot on when we were all available, I was very anxious that we might not be able to finish it on time, but fortunately we were. And otherwise, speaking of money, no, it didn't really cost that much money since I had a robe from earlier. And what else? Oh yeah, we did have to buy a cigarette lighter for the movie. But yeah, that's insignificant.
So
What
the
else?
lighter was the budget. The cost of a lighter. What did you do
Yeah.
about equipment? Did you already have the cameras and stuff, or did one of your friends have
Oh,
access to
yeah.
it and all that?
I did have the camera. It was this camera that I actually happen to have right here. It's my father's camera, but it has recently been used by me more than by him. Uh,
Nice. So
yeah,
you're literally the
all of
kid who stole the family camera and made a horror film. I love it.
yeah. Both parts of Boris, the part with my mother and this second part, it was both shot with this camera. Oh yeah,
So
one thing
Nikon?
I did spend a little bit of money on, as in my short movie, I was trying to avoid showing logos of various brands and stuff like that. And since there is a scene when the characters played by my friends drink beer, I figured out instead of just removing the labels from the beer bottles, I figured out I could create my own label, and unfortunately, I forgot to bring one of the bottles here. But if you like, maybe I can show them another time.
Yes, sir. We would love
Sure.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause we'll
Thank,
definitely be doing follow-up segments to this for sure. Because
thank you.
there's definitely more to tell. But I gotta admit, I find it infinitely fascinating that the woman from the first half of the Boris shorts is the lady we're almost waking up when we make you laugh on those late night streams. I didn't realize that was your mom, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally.
That's pretty great.
Thanks.
Okay, I gotta let these cats into the basement or they're gonna just tear up my door over here. So you continue. If you have any questions, Cody, fire them out. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask. I also remembered an anecdote I would like to share. But yeah, if you have any questions, ask me, please.
Okay. Go ahead and do that, and I'll think of something to ask you.
Yes?
Yeah, go ahead and tell me that little anecdote, and then I'll fire away a question.
Oh, okay. So, since we were shooting the whole Boris short in my house, there have been either jokes about the house being haunted, since in the short movie my character is a ghost haunting the house and everyone who moves into it. And since we made Boris, whenever someone in the house misplaces an item, and whenever we cannot find something, like as if it mysteriously disappeared, we joke that Boris stole it.
That's great.
Uh,
What would you say? Rattle off a couple of your top favorite Joe movies that, like, excluding Dark Zone 13.
whew. If I have to exclude John Bowker movies, even though on those movies Joe Sherlock was the director of photography, so he is not entirely unconnected to them. But if I have to go exclusively with Joe Sherlock movies, let's see. I I like Blood Creek Woodsman a lot. What else could I pick? Beneath a Dead Moon. Ooh, what else? Well, I also like Cod Noggins a lot. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm real
Let me
partial to
see.
that one.
Though.
Yeah. Uh, Let me think. It's kind of difficult to think off the top of my head, as there are so many he made.
Yeah.
These are John Bowker movies I have here. Uh, who? Well, I do also like Crimson Heather quite a bit. Okay, that's a short movie, although one of his longer shorts. Oh, what do
Very
I
stoked to
have?
check that out at some point today. That's pretty
I know
much
you
going to be
got a
my. What's that?
you got a great care package in yesterday.
Oh yeah, man, so much good stuff. I'm probably gonna take it down at an irresponsible rate too, because that's just all I plan on doing for the rest of the day is just watching all that Sherlock schlock.
I mean,
Oh,
there's so much stuff packed onto those discs.
you definitely should. And yeah, maybe I would also go with Strange Monsters, which was eventually released as Things 5 by David Sterling.
Nice. Glad we're
Ooh.
not the only dorks that appreciate that movie.
Oh,
I feel
Things
like a lot of
5,
people,
yeah. Yeah, the
it's
first
not their
time I
favorite,
watched
but I like it a lot. It's fun.
it. Yeah, it is. The first time I watched it was with my father, and we both had a lot of fun with it, even though he doesn't usually go for B movies on his own initiative, but sometimes he sits down when I'm watching one, and this one he actually laughed at quite a bit.
Nice. Actually did mean to ask you about that. Are your parents pretty supportive of the stuff? And are either of them fans? I guess you answered about your dad, but what about your mom? Is she into horror at all or B movies?
She does like horror, but normally she is not really that much into B movies. Uh, I was very grateful that she accepted to play the Boris short as usually. Unfortunately, she doesn't really find B movies very interesting unless they are of uh, or some of much better quality that could almost pass as Hollywood movies. Then maybe yeah, but
Right. Which is fair enough, you know.
Yeah, they're not for everybody.
yeah, true. And uh, yeah, I like I said, I became a huge fan of John Bowker and Joe Sherlock. I wanted to collect all of their movies, and since I was in contact with Joe and bought a lot of his movies and became friends with him, he eventually also sold me some movies that he doesn't regularly have available for sale. He even put some on the DVD for me that were originally just on VHS and almost forgotten. I could show some of those if anyone is interested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Go for it. Show them off. And in the meantime, I would want to ask, like, so it's safe to say, right, that like your inspiration to shoot a film came from, the Joe Sherlock stuff, and like, had you had any aspirations before then to get into filmmaking, or was this
Uh,
purely motivated by your love of the stuff and your friendship with Joe?
Yeah, Joe is absolutely the reason why I started to do that. Before that, I never thought of making my own movies, especially because people usually say the movie belongs to its director, but the truth is, it somewhat belongs to everyone who worked on it, and it always has to include a lot of people, a lot of combined effort, and it's at least where I live, it's not easy to find people who would be interested in something like that. Although now a friend and I are actually planning to make another short movie. I do
Nice.
hope it comes through in the near future. Thank you. It
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. So that's very good news indeed. Because,
uh, thank
again, not just because we're friends, man. There's a special magic to that Boris short, and you definitely should make more shorts. You've got a knack for it, and you're a very creative dude that thinks outside of the box with ideas too. So you're kind of the perfect type of a guy to make this type of shit for dudes like us to eat up.
thank you. The the movie we hope to make now is one based on a short story that I wrote that has recently actually come out in a local anthology of horror stories. Uh, the story is called Doom Gloom, the Haunted Owl. It's actually okay. Maybe you guys in the USA have not heard of it, but you see this plush owl in my background. That owl is a part of a product line by a company that's made more than 20 different plush owls in different colors. They are called emotion owls. Like each owl represents a different emotion. That's the idea. And my idea for this short story was it was originally imagined as a creepy pasta about these emotion owls, where there would be an unreleased emotion owl that's haunted. But eventually, I replaced the name emotion owl with the name colorful owls, and in order to avoid copyright issues. So
Right.
yeah, so I made it my own story, and a friend of mine who actually has a character in my story based on him, he came up with the idea of making a movie based on that story. So I do hope we will be able to make one eventually.
Yeah, man. Sign us up. We'll be watching that and purchasing it wherever it needs to be purchased at, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
definitely plugging the shit out of it on here. Maybe if you guys eventually do it, we could do like a live screening of it too or something.
Ooh, thank you.
So when you were doing the short, did your friend that helped with the camera, was he the one who framed all the shots, or were you involved in that as well, like helping to set up the look of the short? Because I think the way it's shot is one of my favorite things about it. I mean, there's a lot to love about the Boris shorts,
Oh,
but both
thank
of them
you.
are shot very competently.
Well, the camera was often set up by me, but I would usually also ask for his opinion if he thinks it's good the way it is, and also in shorts, in shots where I had to appear on screen, then he was behind the camera and making sure it's set up properly and everything, and telling me when I should squat down or get back up, especially in that one scene where, damn, where is that VHS now? Bloody hell, I made such a mess here. Uh, sorry. Uh,
No problem, dude.
yeah, especially when we did this shot that appeared on the covers and stuff. That guy was behind the camera, and he told me to get down and get up and things like that. So yeah, he actually did help a lot, even though he never appeared on screen.
That's rad, man. And between the two of you, I think that you could probably do pretty well. Like shooting music videos, maybe even. There's like a cool, almost black metal video vibe to the Boris short, and a lot of those outdoor scenes that I really like, especially the bit with that big old staircase and stuff. And the character
Whoa,
of Boris, I think, would work real great as almost like a mascot for a band or something. Like
whoa,
if I was a
thank you.
local metal band over there or something, and I saw that fucking Boris short and got to know you, I'd probably beg you to be in some shit like that. So
Wow,
just something to
thanks.
consider, man. It might be a lucrative side hustle to fund your other projects.
Well, I would definitely love that. If anyone wanted to do any such thing with me, of course, I wouldn't say no. And actually, funnily enough, at one point, not too long ago, when I attended some local concert in my town, I was also wearing this T-shirt, and some random guy who saw it said, "Hey, what band is that?" And I said, "Sorry, it's not a band, but thank you." Uh, yeah, I was also going to show some of my. Oh, by the way, do you maybe have any questions now, Cody?
Um, I think what's maybe not so much a question. I don't want this to sound like it's a wrap up because it's not. But I mean, it's. I think it's cool just to think about. I'm sure there was a lot more into it, but just the fact that people that want to say they can't do this or they don't have the time or they don't have the money. I mean, like, it's a good just one line to say that this short was made for the cost of a lighter, even though it really wasn't. Just showing that what you could do with very little
Well,
money.
well, I didn't actually have to buy only the lighter. I also I was talking about the beer bottles, as
Yeah,
I
lighters
said.
and beer.
All you need.
Yeah, I bought the beer bottles, and I also designed my own label for the beer bottles, like a fictional brand of beer. And I printed. I had those labels printed, so that printing cost a little bit of money, but also insignificant.
You
And
should have called it Hoot Brew, dude. That'd have been a good name for
Act-
some fictional Boris beer.
actually, funnily enough, I did name it in Croatian. It's named Sovino Pivo, which translates to owl's beer.
That's awesome, dude. That's fucking great.
Thank
I think
you.
what Cody's trying to say, though, and we've told you this before, but it's super inspiring that like you were just some kid in Croatia that was getting into horror movies, and you're really into the Ring, and you just kind of stumbled upon this world of B movies, and it lit like a creative fire in you, and you didn't let the distance or the limitations of what you had to work with hold you back from contributing to it. I mean, you've written like an epic tome of fan fiction that you got official permission to make. You ended up making not one but two shorts for Joe Sherlock that both ended up in one of his better movies, as especially as far as the newer stuff's concerned, and that could potentially lead to you doing more with him. I mean, you're on posters and box sets and DVDs and Blu-rays the world over, all just because you stumbled upon a movie on eBay and you didn't just buy it and put it on the shelf and forget about it. You got inspired by it and you let that lead you on all kinds of adventures, man. And it
Oh,
sounds like
definitely.
there's more to come.
Definitely. In The Seekers, Total Evil says when about this tape that she gives to people in the movie, and on this figure she is holding one, as you can see. Uh, in the movie, she says, "Once you watch this, you will never be the same." And in my case, she was right. When I
Yeah.
watched this movie, yeah, it led to all this. And you also said recently that if it wasn't for this, that maybe even you wouldn't have ended up met some people that you are in contact with now.
Oh
How
yeah,
did that
dude.
happen?
You being involved with Dave doing those discussions was my whole introduction to John Bowker and Joe Sherlock. And then if I hadn't tuned in when you guys were talking about it and seeing like, oh, this kid he's talking to about this stuff seems like an interesting dude, and these movies sound rad, and then him and Brandon started posting more about the box sets, so I started collecting them, which led me to obviously getting really into the stuff and becoming, I like to think, a proper fan of especially Joe, but that whole group of people in general. And eventually going to meet Joe at the convention, and led to us hanging out with him the other night, and probably several other awesome things that will happen to us in the future.
Um,
Me and Cody probably we connected over Full Moon, but I think the Joe Sherlock, David Sterling stuff is really what made us connect and want to do more than just be like friends in passing on the internet.
oh,
We're all
nice.
here now talking about this shit literally because I found you talking to Dave about these obscure B movies, and I was like,
Maybe,
I might have to check those out.
thank you. Maybe I should also say how I got in contact with Dave to begin with.
Yeah, shout them out, buddy. Tell the story.
Actually, it goes back to Dreamwalkers, funnily enough. Uh, it happened at the time when Joe Sherlock was already selling Dreamwalkers to people, but he was just making homemade copies. He didn't have an official edition. And but yeah, I designed this cover for my personal collection, but I showed it to Joe and said that in case he wanted to use it for the movie when he sells it to other people, that I would be not only okay with it, but that it would actually be an honor to me. And he ended up printing that cover for the homemade copies of Dreamwalkers that he was selling to people. And then at one point, David Stregi, Dave, as we call him, he bought several movies from Joe Sherlock, and one of them was Dreamwalkers. And he took a photo of the DVD and posted it on Facebook. And that was the first time I saw someone else having a copy of a DVD with a cover designed by me. So I got so enthusiastic about it that I immediately sent a friend request to Dave, and the rest is history.
Indeed. Boristery, as you might say.
Nice, nice one. I love it.
Man, it's just a beautiful thing how these movies can connect so many people. And I brought it up before, like you don't get the same thing from a lot of Hollywood crap. Like everybody kind of likes the Marvel movies, so no one goes out of their way to interact with other fans just because they also like Marvel movies or something. But B movies have that close knit, like underground thing going with them. So even just seeing somebody else that's also into the stuff is exciting. That's the whole reason me and Cody are friends. I think he basically hit me up because of Full Moon, but then when he found out that I also liked this other, lower budget stuff, it created more of a connection there. If we were both just Full Moon fans, we might like each other's posts sometimes or something. But I think knowing that it went beyond Full Moon into the deeper underground of low budget indie stuff really helped us get off on the right foot together. Look at his fucking magnificent collection back there. He's the only one that I know that has one that's like on par with yours. I've got a lot of Joe Sherlock movies, but they're all the new releases of them. Like, you've got a ton of cool stuff. That Dark Zone 13 VHS alone, I would sell various parts of my body for. It's
Oh,
just
thank you.
good stuff, you know.
Yeah, this VHS was a limited edition by
It's fucking
this.
beautiful, dude.
Thanks. I think only 25 copies were made. It was made by this company named Po- Poser Rat, which is run by this man named James Chris Land. Uh,
Oh
he
yeah, lots of
also,
indie distributors getting the shout out in this episode too.
Yeah,
Definitely
I had
check out Poser Rat.
mine kind of tell you guys each told your little story, so I'll tell a shorter version of mine. I'd
Oh,
seen Brandon Septum Sin on YouTube because looking up Camp Blood movie reviews, and of course, there's not a whole lot of them. So I saw this guy did one for almost every single one of them, and then reached out to him. I was like, "Hey man, I enjoyed your videos. Oh, thanks." And then I don't remember how we started talking, and I got to Full Moon somehow, and I was like, "Well, if you like Full Moon, my buddy Mo is a big Full Moon fan. He even does a Full Moon show. Like, you should reach out to him." And then I did, and luckily you weren't Full Moon's the gospel and they can do no wrong in my eyes. So we kind of agreed on that we're realistic in our fandom for that. And then it kind of just segued into all this other stuff. And then we got to where we are today.
Yeah, man. I think you brought up if I'd ever tried the David Sterling stuff or something, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been buying those box sets or whatever, and we both found out that we both had basically all of them, so it was like meant to be, you know. Because there's a lot of people like Full Moon that don't fuck with other stuff that's like lower budget than Full Moon. Like
that's
Cody
as low
said,
as they go.
Yeah, there's also a bad trend of people just kissing Charlie Band's ass, and neither of us are down to do that, either to Charlie or anyone.
Right.
We like the stuff as art, but art has to be open to critique, you know. And it's pretty special when you can find other people like that can, you know, get together and talk about the stuff without getting too in their feelings about any of it. Speaking of other fans of this, we got Dave up on here. Boris, he says we're going to start without you. Just join in when you get a chance. Cool.
Oh.
We have kept you a little late, but
Well,
I think it's been
actually,
productive time, you know. What's up?
Yeah,
well, actually, I thought we were supposed to begin shortly. Who is this?
I don't know. A mystery guest, bro.
A guest whose microphone is muted, apparently.
I don't know. I'm intrigued, though.
So am I.
Reveal yourself to us.
Hello, guest.
Oh shit, dude! It's the real Boris.
Boris's revenge.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's Sadako, man. She heard us talking shit.
Oh, or maybe it's Total Evil.
Maybe. That figure is glorious as well. I really hope that you get more done at some point. There's other
thank you.
characters I'd love to see as a statue.
More characters.
Yeah, dude, those aliens. I'd buy a statue of those aliens for sure.
Oh, indeed. Well, for this
Blood
for
Creek
this
Woodsman, that'd be a
occasion,
nice statue.
which one? Sorry.
Blood Creek Woodsman, that'd be another sick statue as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Come on, guest, say something. Your microphone is muted. We cannot hear you.
I'm wondering if it isn't like Dave tried to join for a minute or something, but then bounced, so it's just a ghost or something. I don't know.
I mean, he did stay. He stayed on a little bit last night after he was already gone.
All right, well, back to the afterlife with you. It's been a great talk though, Boris, and we're definitely gonna have to do another one of these. I hope you never stop being enthusiastic about this stuff. It's pretty infectious, the level to which you like this stuff. It makes me like want to look at it with a closer attention to detail and properly, you know, do justice to it the way that it deserves to be, like you do. It's very inspiring to see somebody take this stuff as seriously or let it inspire them as creatively as you do, man.
Thank you so much, and yeah, another time, and we hopefully have more time if you are interested, I would like to show some more of my Joe Sherlock and John Bowker collectibles.
Definitely,
and
man.
Absolutely.
and Felicia Pandolfi and Total Evil collectibles too.
Oh yeah, dude. We're gonna try to get that interview one day, and if we
Uh,
do, we'll make sure that you're able to be on for that because that'll be epic.
Thank you. It would be a
Uh,
great honor, and thank you so much for having me here and for even to put it bluntly, for even giving a shit about stuff from my life and about what I'm interested in, and for liking this short movie I made. It all really means a lot to me. And when
oh
you
yeah,
say
dude.
that I put some of you together, that none of you would have met if it wasn't for me, that's incredible and barely believable, and it means a lot. Thank you all so much.
Oh, thank you, dude. I mean, it's been an honor to talk to you about it. Uh, and this will be the first of many, I'm sure, where we will get together and share our love of the stuff because that's what it's all about, guys. Don't just
Thank
sit
you.
around in your basement watching B movies by yourself. Get out there, find dorks like us. Have conversations, spread the love
Yeah.
of it. Wear
Well,
awesome T-shirts like Cody to promote it. Do your due diligence to spread that love,
uh,
baby.
actually, I do have a T-shirt identical to the one Cody's wearing. Maybe I will wear it next time I show
Oh
up
yeah.
here.
I'm hoping to
And
get one myself. At the con, he was sold out of my size, so I was SOL. Same with
I
the
have a
hats.
cap too.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I'll
Thank
get it eventually.
you.
Uh, but yeah, check out Boris. He's got his own channel. I'll update some links later on today so that you can go check out Skullface Astronaut. You can get over there to SOB Horror, place some orders. They're going to be closing down the store for a time in December, so definitely want to get your orders in before they go on vacation for a bit. We'll plug the Vimeos for everything as well, so that you can find all the Joe movies on there and give them a rent if you just want to support or if you'd like to check them out for the first time. Boris does some quality music videos, right, on your channel that are
Uh,
inspired by the stuff.
yes. On that channel, I have yet another alias. The channel was made at the time when I had not decided to use my real name yet. The name there is E.D. Harrow. The initials E and D come from E is from Endymion, the Sailor Moon character that I like a lot, and kind of see some similarities between him and myself. And on that channel, aside from music videos based on Joe Sherlock and John Bowker movies, I also had some Sailor Moon music videos until
Yeah,
they
dude.
were taken
Fucking
down for.
legit. Your next project should be a Sailor Moon fan film where you just play all the girls. I'll donate to that, dude.
That would be difficult to portray, not only because.
Difficult, but not impossible. Eddie Murphy.
Oh my! Oh my!
Hell
Yeah, and
yeah,
if you're
dude.
wanting to find out anything more about Joe, I mean, look at our interview we did with him about a week ago. Sat down with him and
Oh,
weren't planning on it
definitely, yeah.
for about 2 hours, and you can definitely we got some good questions in there. Got a lot of insight. So if you want to go any more in depth into Joe or find out more about him, check out our interview we did, and hopefully there will be more of those to come with Joe, and hopefully we can get Boris on the next one with Joe.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be
thank you, thank you.
amazing.
I would love that. Just please let me know when it's going to be, and I hope it's going to be at a time when I can talk without waking my parents up.
Right.
Hell, man, get your mom on there too.
She's a movie
Thanks.
star now.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is, but
we'll let
she's.
you know though, man. I'll get in contact with Joe about that here in the next week or so, and we'll start talking about when to set that up because he's gonna have some new movies coming out soon, so it would be like perfect if we could get, you know, an interview with a follow-up interview with Joe after one of those releases, so that we've got something fresh to plug for you guys out there.
Indeed.
But we'll let you get out of here, Boris. He's got to go spend probably an inordinate amount of time talking about Gone with the Wind during Halloween, which is just a shame. But it's for a friend of ours as a memorial to his mom, so it's it works out.
Yeah, that's true.
Have fun, man. Thanks for coming on. Like I said, guys, I'll get the links and everything added to the description. So if you're watching this later in the day, it's a good chance to check down there. There'll be some hidden treasures and some more Boris for you to check out. So
thank you, and thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to showing up here next. And yeah, once I log off here, I will join the stream on David Strang's channel, Delusions of Grandeur, where I will be discussing Gone with the Wind with Dave and other people there. So, yeah, if anyone wants to listen to more of my rambling, see you there and see you on this channel, hopefully soon enough again.
Hell yes, dude. Let's close this out as a group here, okay? Cynthia is a lion sack of shit. I think that's going to have to be the way we close these from now on. So,
oh, yeah.
Cheers. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you back